237s and a 226. He's in the championship match against the youngster in this field tonight, Brian Voss, a winner just 2 weeks ago, and also a bowler who has never lost on television. That's going to feel good coming into any championship round.
It certainly does.
Brian is a fun-loving guy. He is enjoying the tour, no question about that. He is very confident. He has stated quite frankly that he is going to win tonight. Brian is from Tacoma, Washington, and he is currently in his 3rd year on the PBA Tour. Earlier we had a conversation, and here is how it went. 2 weeks ago in Houston, Brian Voss captured his 2nd PBA title, and now in Buffalo he's sitting in the top spot again. You must be very confident, Brian.
Yeah, I can remember the first time I won a title. My next 2 tournaments, I bowled the best of my life, and 2 weeks ago I won, and I feel like my game's at its best right now.
What's the big difference? Is it technical or is it mental?
I think mentally. I've been out here for 2 years now, and I think each time you're in a situation where you have to perform well and you do that, then that's good for your confidence, and it's been working out real well for me.
Now, I don't think anyone has misunderstood your statements about the fact that you say you're going to win tonight. That's just got to be the way you have to enter a tournament like this.
Yeah, I think if you walk into a tournament, you got to believe you're going to win from the first game, and you should think like that, and I still think I'm going to win.
Now, your TV record is unblemished. That is a rare event on the PBA Tour. Why do you think that is?
Well, the first time I can remember, I was a little fortunate. My opponents didn't bowl that well, but the last time the lights didn't quite affect me so much. I'm becoming accustomed to them, so to speak.
Now, life on the PBA Tour can be a drag for some. You seem to enjoy it very much as a bachelor. Tell me a little bit about the enjoyable parts of being on the tour.
Well, there are a lot of nice things about the tour. I love the travel. I've been flying around lately. That's the best. Driving once in a while is a little hectic, but you have a little nightlife, and you're your own boss. You do what you want. And if you're going to be a good player out here, you have to understand that you got to sleep some nights, and other nights you're allowed to have fun.
Now, the lanes this week, no perfect games. First time this year that's happened on the tour. How did you find them?
Well, they were much to my liking. When I bowled in Europe for 2 years, this was basically the shot. You had to play inside of 15 and be really aggressive, throw the ball with a lot of speed. So they're to my liking.
Brian Voss and George Papis bowling for $15,000. George's perspective about the enjoyable things on the tour slightly different. He's enjoying this week in Buffalo because of the city's famous chicken wings. And he is now bowling on the left-hand lane.
That's interesting you say that, too, because the chicken wing is referred to by the bowlers is when they let the elbow fly and the ball doesn't make it to the head pin. So George twitches his shoulder and hoping he doesn't chicken wing it out there.
He is picking up exactly where he left off.
George, like all great players, as we see this shot, same one we've seen over and over again, when he finds it on a pair of lanes, it's like a machine. He has a very repetitive game. He keeps throwing shot after shot just the same. Brian Voss is a tough competitor, but he better have his striking clothes on.
Brian had the best average this week, 219.
4-step player. Good lift on the ball. And right through the heart, he just never got out of that thumb cleanly.
How's that for a slap on the face?
Well, it's a heck of a way to start. Pushes, now steps. Ball in time, good slide. Just held on to it too long with left of target. 6, 7, 10. He's in a position he has to go for it.
Very similar to what happened to Mark Roth in the last game, and he was unable to recover.
So is it straight? Has a chance. Has a chance.
Like it never happened. Brian Voss, a tremendous conversion in the first frame.
See him straighten this shot out. At about this point, you could see that the ball was not going to hook, and it nicks that 6-pin. Lickety split like it was nothing to it. That has to pump his adrenaline up. It certainly got the crowd into the match right away in the second frame. And sometimes when you're sitting on the bench and your opponent does that to you, it affects you. But George Papis is so tough-minded, I don't think it will. Back in the pocket now. See, a little thing like that gets that adrenaline pumping. Boy, that might have been just a ticket.
We have two very smooth bowlers in this championship matchup.
It's amazing how a bad break leaving the split, if you could convert it, can turn into a good break because it charges you up. It's like a recovery shot in golf. George taking a little extra time. He always takes a lot of time anyway. This is for his 10th title. That's a magic figure among professional bowlers to get into double digits. He's there, light, and gets the carry. And George acknowledges the crowd and is just nonchalant when he comes back.
Well, the crowd is very much into this match. Papis averaging 233, having struck now in 24 of 35 frames. Amazing, working on a double.
So in a urethane bowling ball, as he goes through his twitching routine, wants to get that shoulder comfortable before he ever puts his hand in the ball. Right underneath the ball, the wrist straight, but not really cupped. A little bit cupped, though. Really twitching this time. This is... He's there. Oh, yeah. As Papis says, yes. As soon as George lets this ball go, he knows it's in the 1-3. He's moving right. And boy, that 6-pin takes care of the 10, and George is all the way over in front of our camera. He's put the pressure square on Brian Voss. He's down 20 pins before he can even blink, and he's made a difficult split. He's got a strike right here. A little high, and trips that 4-pin out of there. Keeps him in the match.
He's knocked Papis' lead down to 10.
Over about the 18th board here. Now watch the 2-pin, third from the left. It goes to the wall, gets both the 4 and the 7.
There's the story. 4th frame now, Brian Voss, left-hand lane. I'm Al Trautwig along with Mike Durbin. We're at Suburban Lanes just outside of Buffalo, New York.
Good speed. Light, dinner bucket. Dinner bucket. 2, 4, 5, 8. Brian thought this ball might make it back, and it just never did. Talking to himself there. Watch it, the follow-through. Looked pretty good. I couldn't see anything in that. The ball just didn't bite the way he wanted it to. As he lifts that leg up, gives it a little wry smile there. Has a tough spare. See if he throws it straight or hooks it. No, he threw his normal shot and chopped it.
Boy, he makes the split before and doesn't make the dinner bucket.
The dinner bucket is almost as tough sometimes because he had to throw a hook at it to get the 8-pin, but in throwing the hook, it hooks right there and chops that 2 right off the 5. And suddenly, George Papis is in the driver's seat, 26 pins ahead, and it's his turn at bat.
That's the look of a man who throws an open frame in a championship match. George Papis up by 26 in the 4th. This is the championship match of the Buffalo Open.
Trying to get comfortable. Good speed. Light. Gets that 10 out of there. He didn't know whether that would strike or not, but he's going to take it. Now George is watching the ball. Now he knows it's not going to be solid in the pocket, so he's watching that 10. Oh, baby, he said. All right. He's
very confident now.
Pennies from heaven right there, he's thinking.
4 straight strikes for George Papis. Now it's 26 strikes out of 37 frames.
And still not an open frame. As the string gets longer and he gets closer to that 10th title, he takes a little more time and twitches that shoulder a few more times. Good loft. He's light, though. It's not going to make it. And he leaves the bucket.
Second bucket in a row on that lane. And that'll break up the string of 4 straight strikes.
We talked about the hand release and the tip today, and George looked at his hand as he came back, and he just never got his thumb out of that ball cleanly. And now he's saying that the machine set the pins down off spot, and he wants it set back on spot. Now, we are allowed by the rules, the PBA rules, to do this. If that machine set the pins down off spot, they have to be set by hand on spot, and Harry Golden is agreeing with him. Interesting that Brian Voss left the exact same spare, never said a word, shot the spare and chopped it. The experienced George Papis says, hey, I know the rules. I'm the chairman of the tournament committee. I've read my rule book. I want those pins put on spot, and they're going to put them on spot.
There's Harry Golden, tournament director. How long has it been since he's missed an event? Never?
Well, yeah, he missed this winter because he had heart surgery this winter.
Oh, that's right.
He had bypass heart surgery this winter, and so he did. His mechanic is down there putting them on the spot down there. That spare is tough enough to make when the pins are on spot. When you add a little distance between that 2 and 5, it becomes almost impossible.
All right, the crowd settles down once again. George Papis looking at the bucket. Left lane.
The spare is a big shot because it keeps his momentum going. He's shooting it from the left, same place Brian Voss did. He almost missed the 2-5, and he's going to miss it. Oh, and I made it on the left. I thought he had missed it as he blows a breath of air. That's certainly not the way he played it. At this point, it looked like it was going to hook by it entirely, and it stops as the 2-pin hits the 5 and bounces into the 8.
And so, midway of the 5th frame, it is George Papis leading by 32 pins. The championship match of the Buffalo Open will continue on USA in a moment. Brian Voss now will be bowling in the 5th frame. He is bowling against George Papis in the championship match of the Buffalo Open. We're at Suburban Lanes. I'm Al Trautwig along with Mike Durbin. And Brian is trying to recover from a 4th frame which was left wide open.
Converting that dinner bucket has been the key shot of this match for George Papis really right now. Brian trying to get something started. Get a strike working. Get himself back in the match. Oh, he thought that was in the 1-3, and I did too, and it hooked right at the end, left the 4-pin. The way George is going, he's not making any mistakes. The mistakes he is making, he's getting spares, filling the frames. It's going to take a string of strikes to beat him. You're not going to beat him with spares.
That's a 32-pin differential now between Brian Voss, 25 years old, and the experienced general from Charlotte, North Carolina, George Papis.
So we see Papis with 106 in the 4th and a spare up in the 5th. Voss was 74. The difference, 32 pins. George Papis has him at this point, halfway through the championship match. Left lane a little tighter inside. Oh, the solid 10, a 4-pin and a 10-pin. He's making good shots now. One errant shot, and he just can't afford these taps. He's got to get some strikes to get himself back in the match. Papis is not going to beat himself. Watch a good shot here over about the 18th board. Watch the 6-pin, second from the right. Flies right around that 10. Has to make this. Has it.
Got it. Conversion by Voss in the 6th. Now over to George Papis, who Mike is trying to pull off a relatively rare event, a start from 5th position and capturing a PBA title, something you did to win the Firestone this year. But how tough is it?
It's extremely tough when you've got to beat 4 opponents. I mean, they're all great players out there. To win 4 matches in a row out here is so tough. For years, we went on our national telecast, and it had never been done until Timmy Harahan did it in Kansas City in 1967. Good speed for George, right in the pocket. You notice George has hardly left any 10 pins.
George has hardly left any pins.
That's true, but I mean, that angle, that outside angle is carrying so well for him.
Watch it, this will be his 5th strike in 6 frames and maintain his lead at 33 pins.
And watch the 6-pin go to the wall and love tap that 10 out of there with that good heavy roll he had on that ball.
Well, when you average 233, you can make other bowlers look like that.
Brian not watching George, looking off and now looking down.
And you can also win from the 5th position. Here's George Papis in the 7th.
When they get to this point, you know, it's a one-game match. They've dropped all the pins. Papis trying to put the hammer on his opponent. He's got him down, wants to knock him out. And he's gone out. Got that 10th and out of there. And we saw almost a little Marshall home in there from George Papis. The teeth clinched and the hands slapped. See him watching that target, left hand out for balance. Now he knows it's in there. He's made his best shot. One more, baby, one more. Yes. And you couldn't see his teeth come together, but they did.
3 lanes worth of body English for George Papis. Now back to Brian Voss.
High, 3-6, and this tournament is almost history. Brian Voss, if he converts this spare and strikes out, is potential 221. Right now, George Papis is going at a 236 pace. So Brian Voss's only hope is to strike out and hope Papis opens, which it doesn't appear that that's going to happen, and almost missed the spare.
He threw that like a beaten man, though. He almost tossed it away.
Yes, he did. You're right. Yeah, you saw that right on, Alan. There we see the difference. 126 in the 5th for Papis, a double working. 111 in the 6th, and a spare up for Voss. The difference, 45 pins. There's the one he's looking for. He's got that left lane down. Interesting, it was the left lane that gave him the trouble in the 4th frame with the dinner bucket. It's good lift, good roll. Seemed to get all the way to the side of that ball that time. Solid in the 1-3 pocket, but it's, as you said before, I'm afraid it's going to be too little, too late. It's Papis trying for another turkey, 2 in a row, trying for 3. Turn, and he's getting all the breaks.
It came too high, and he still got it.
George turned this ball a little early, didn't clear the thumb cleanly. It was left of target, and he's just thinking, hold, hold. Can't read his lips, but now to see the reaction, he knows that's the one that seals the fate.
2 reactions inside of 1 reaction, and there's a completely different reaction. 9th frame.
Brian Voss very stoic, not showing any emotion, although you know his heart has to be breaking inside.
This has turned out to be one of the most lopsided championship matches we've ever had on USA.
Well, last week our scorekeeper won by 100. Papis gets one more for his second 4-bagger of the game. That 10th title is so sweet sometimes.
The ball has fallen off the return behind Brian Voss.
And Brian facetiously says to George, I can't do that because we have a rule that you can't put his hand in the other player's finger holes and thumb holes.
That takes a little of the tenseness off the situation. And Brian, in the 9th, puts one away. Second straight strike for him, and very much like Mark Roth and Ron Bell, who preceded him in the losers column, he may have found the groove too late.
Well, I'll tell you, George has only missed 1 strike. I mean, out of 9 frames, he's got 8 strikes. That's hard to beat.
Yep.
Especially this has been, as they said, a tough condition all week long. George has made it look easy. And Brian finishing like a champion, a lot of class.
Brian Voss right now experiencing a feeling he has never felt before, that is losing on television. George Papis experiencing a feeling that he has experienced 9 times before, winning on television.
And trips the 4. He's going to finish with 221 with 1 more strike, and he's going to make Papis show up for that 10th frame. Right now, if Papis would happen to foul or throw both balls in the channel, he only has 206 at this point. I mean, you never know. I mean, he has to show up for that 10th frame. That's about all he has to do, but he has to show up. 220 even. Very nice score, nice game. That 4th frame where he missed that bucket was crucial.
We've seen plenty of matches that a 220 would win.
Oh, yes.
And that's how Brian Voss will wrap up his
And right
trip to
now,
Buffalo.
And right now, what George probably is doing is moving back a little bit further on the approach to make sure he stays behind that foul line. And it's interesting, he's going to play outside for this shot. If I were he, I would move to the second arrow or somewhere near the middle of the lane. Just point it up. He's going Brooklyn. Just wanted to get it up there and hit that head pin. That's all he wanted to do. He's a winner. .3610. If he converts this, he'll be in the 250s. And he makes it. Keeping his record intact, 4 clean games, an excellent display, great display of championship bowling by George Papis.
And George Papis will have swept through from the 5th position without an open frame.
One more. Yep. 253. Second week in a row, our championship bowlers shot in the 250s.
George Papis bowled 43 frames and came away with 31 strikes. And he will shuffle off from Buffalo with $15,000. 253 to 220 for Brian Voss. And we'll be talking with our champion in just a moment as we wrap up our coverage of the Buffalo Open on USA Sports. George Papis began the evening in 5th place, but he twitched his way right to the top. $15,000 and the championship of the Buffalo Open. Now, quickly, we have Phil Cantonese, who's the vice president of Bell's Market, and Art Kurtz, who's the general manager here at Suburban Lanes. Gentlemen, the presentations that George has worked so hard for.
George, congratulations. I'd like to be the first to acknowledge such an outstanding tournament for yourself. Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you. Mr. Kurtz?
George, congratulations. The check says it all, guy. Good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Hey, George, 30 twitches at certain times. When did this all start?
Well, I've had a lot of problems getting the right feel when I put my hand in the ball, and the heat got to me a little bit today, and I just couldn't get comfortable, and I just kept moving and twitching to stay loose until I got lined up, and then you know, everything came out right. But you know, without Bell's Markets and Jerry back here at Suburban Lanes, you know, we wouldn't be here. And I just would like to thank everyone for coming out. I'd like to thank Suburban Lanes and Jerry back and Bell's Markets for sponsoring the tournament, and I'm looking forward to coming back again next year.
Mike, it was a perfect performance, not an open frame. In 5 seconds, sum it up for me.
George, congratulations on a great performance. I'm glad you didn't bowl that way at Firestone.
All right, for Mike Durbin and our champion, George Papis, I'm Al Trautwig. Good night from Buffalo. The $110,000 Buffalo Open on USA has been brought to you in part by the Stroh Brewery Company, family-owned quality for over 200 years. And by Mobil Super Unleaded Gasoline. Mobil Super Unleaded. It's really powerful. And by Levi's Action Slacks and Action Jeans.